Hello, guys. How's everyone doing? I haven't had a bath today. Just wanted to put it out there. The thing is, I feel a lot of people read a lot of non-fiction books, whereas I feel people should be reading more fiction books. And I say that because I feel non-fiction books are so they're not bad, but at the same time they're very one-sided in dimension, and somewhere they lead you down a path. But I feel fiction books are where the real thrill of reading books is really, because what am I saying? I'm saying I think fiction books is where it's at, whereas I feel non-fiction books are a bit lacking in that dimension of thought. Why is it important to read fiction books? I feel it's important to read fiction books because A, they're more fun than non-fiction books. There's no doubt about it. B, there is a theme and process and a storyline, so it's easier to gallop. C, I want to say that fiction books offer a deeper understanding and a deeper, you know, I think they go much further than non-fiction books. I personally like fiction books more, and I think the reason for that is I think they really open your mind up, whereas I feel non-fiction books are very use case scenario. Like I want to become this thing, so I'm reading this book. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's something very limiting about people who want something out of things and people. Let's say if a book was a person, you're only going to a non-fiction book slash person because you want something out of it. So you only get that perspective out of it. For example, I'm reading a book on sleep revolution right now. It's called Sleep Revolution. It's about sleep deprivation and how to get over it. Basically, I'm assuming it's going to teach me that. It's very derivative to the extent where it only offers what it wants to offer. Whereas, let's say the last non-fiction book I read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, or Lore. If you've read Invisible Life of Addie Lore, um, what do I say, man? That hasn't already been said. I think it's a travel through space, time, and history. So you're reading a book not knowing what you're getting into, and I think that's more fascinating. When you read a fiction book, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what the book is going to serve you. You're just going by somebody's recommendation, or you like the title, or you like the book cover. If you're me, you actually read the book just because you like the title or the book cover, and you just don't want to know anything about it. So I think books are not a subjective taste. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. Books are like films to a certain degree. The mass consensus of on a film is usually what your consensus on the film will be. Similarly, if many people are saying a book is good, there's a high likelihood that you will get something out of it. Not necessarily what others got out of it, but you will get your own perspective and context, just like in a film. But there's more things to really touch base on when you're reading a book, because when you're reading a book, there's no audience around you. Your friend or girlfriend, your wife, they're not around you to laugh at the funny scenes. They're not there to cry with you on the sad scenes. It's a very singular journey reading books. So that's what makes it interesting. And I feel fiction is the dark end. Reading fiction books is like exploring outer space. It's like exploring Uranus. It's like exploring various kinds of planets. Whereas I feel when you read a non-fiction book, you are again reading about a subject to your interest. For example, if I read a book about negotiation, like Chris Voss has written a book. Okay, I read a book about negotiation. Did it add to my perspective of life? Yes. Did it add to the perspective beyond what it's supposed to offer? No. Whereas in fiction books, it can do that. Go and read Shantaram by Sir Gregory David Roberts, and I can tell you it'll be a singular journey unlike any you've had. Go and read Open by Andrew Agassi, and it'll open your mind. Go and read Shoe Knight by Shoe a Dog by Phil Knight, and again it'll open your brain. Again, I'm saying fiction, biography, memoir. I'm putting all of that in one genre, science fiction, all of that. Go and read A Clockwork Orange, and it'll open your mind beyond any non-fiction book. If you want to hear about the best non-fiction books I've read in my life, they're all written by Robert Greene and Yuval Noah Harari. So Robert Greene wrote books like 48 Laws of Power, The Laws of Human Nature, Seduction, The Art of Seduction. I didn't read the full version of Art of Seduction. I read a brief version of it, so I didn't like it as much. 33 Strategies of War. I think it's 33 Strategies of War. He also wrote a great book called Mastery, which is, as the name suggests, a brilliant non-fiction book. But again, in this non-fiction books, there's primarily a lot of examples of the kind of people that exist on Earth. So, though it's a non-fiction book, it takes a lot of examples of the past fiction and it does explore territories beyond its own scope. And so, I like the non-fiction work. If I talk about Yuval Noah Harari, he wrote *Sapiens*, and *Sapiens* is a great book, but in itself, it can be beyond a non-fiction book horizon because it goes through time and it really reevaluates so far the Earth's journey on with humans and Homo sapiens and Neanderthals and so on. Whereas I feel again these are examples of non-fiction books which clearly kill it. Again, if I have to talk about limited non-fiction books, I would talk about Grant Cardone's series, for example. Be Obsessed or Be Average. That's a great book, but again, it's somewhat good in its scope, but it's limited. If I talk about another more limiting non-fiction reads, I would want to talk about books like, let's say, Atomic Habits. Again, it's focused attention on certain things, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but I just don't get why people talk about non-fiction books with the fervor they do, whereas fiction books is where it's really at. The Invisible Life of Addie Lore. That book actually goes through France, England, New York. That's brilliant, right? The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. It goes through various cities: Las Vegas, Boston, I think Boston, New York to a certain degree, Amsterdam. So you're traveling the globe with the author. So I like fiction books. What do you guys like more? Do you like non-fiction books or fiction books more? Do you also get a bit irritated and peeved when people just keep talking about non-fiction books? Especially non-readers, they generally go for non-fiction books because they're like, oh my God, I gotta read this so I can become this and I can become rich. I think that's so one-track minded and kind of pisses me off. What do you guys think? Did you like this video? Did you hate it? Let your opinion be known. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm the enthusiast. Bye now.